good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hello, welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about empowering innovation, pursuing sustainability for female-driven strategies. And today, I have an amazing panel with us. We have Zana Aston, we have Esther Tekken, we have Shelley Brunswick, we have Dr. Crystal Johnson and Professor Emma. They will introduce themselves, but before we go to that, I'd just like to say a few words about how the webinar will run and a little bit about IOD. For those who do not know me, my name is Yvonne Deville, and I'm the chair of the Finance and FinTech Group in the Institute of Directors. Today's webinar will run for about 50 minutes, so till about 7 o'clock. And after that, we'll have time for questions. You will see that you're going to have a Q&A chat open, so please feel free to put your questions there. Once we finish our discussions, we will look at your questions and answer them. Should we be not able to answer their questions at today's webinar, we will answer them via email. Just to let you know, this webinar is recorded, and this recording will be shared with everyone who's been registered for their webinar, not only via email, but also on our LinkedIn profiles and also on YouTube. So you'll be able to re-listen and re-watch the webinar again. So welcome once again. Institute of Directors has been established in 1903, and 1906 it has received the Royal Charter, which means that it has been given a special authority to advise on governance and compliance. It is also the only organization where you can become the chartered directors. So the IOD offers various levels of courses until you become the chartered director. I, as the chair of the Finance and FinTech Group, am responsible for the finance and FinTech area. And we operate on 3 pillars. Number 1 is connect, develop, and influence. What connect means? Connect means that we are bringing together leaders and businesses to create stronger businesses, to collaborate, to build relationships, new networks. So this is where our networking events come into. In fact, we have a business networking event on the 24th of March at 116 Pall Mall. It is advertised on our LinkedIn page, so please sign up. In terms of the develop, so this is where we facilitate the knowledge sharing, learning, ideas and opportunities. And one example of it is our today's webinar. The influence part is to create platform and voice for IOD policy. So we work with the UK government on the finance and fintech ecosystem, and very often we engage also on the international level with various embassies by promoting UK businesses abroad and vice versa. And if you ever would like to join our group, please just follow us on LinkedIn, send an email to IOD, or simply just message me. Everyone is welcome. And as far as I'm concerned, because we all use financial services, we all use money, everyone is in finance and fintech, so there is no limitation. We welcome everyone. Right, so let's go to the exciting part of our webinar and let the ladies introduce themselves. So I'm going to start with Zana Aston, who is also the co-creator of this webinar. She runs the Tech Woman. And Zana, I will let you introduce yourself and say a few words, please.
Thank you, Yvonne. Good evening. I'm the CEO of Emeris Group International, where I led business strategy, growth, and partnership. Emeris provides technology, innovative solutions, and consultancy to businesses of all sizes. In addition to my role at Emeris, I serve as an advisory board member of IOD Finance and FinTech, and I'm a founder and the CEO of Tech Women for Boards, a community that is driven to dedicate support to female-led businesses and helping corporate women to advance in their careers. We aim to create pathways for more women to excel in leaderships and board positions through membership, networking, mentorship, and shared insights and opportunities. If you don't follow us already, please do on our LinkedIn page for further events. I'm honored to have here my colleagues from various networks, Yvonne from Finance and FinTech IOD, Esther, also I know through IOD, and now our advisory board member for Tech Women for Boards, Shelley from World Global Investors, Emma from City Livery Club, and Crystal from Women in Tech Global Movement. Thank you for joining us this evening. Please enjoy. I hope you will be actively engaging with us during the webinar. And the speaker's floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Zana. Esther, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, everyone, and good to see you in your evening, afternoon, or morning time zone. My name is Esther Tieken. I'm the CFO of the Digitally Foundation, which is an institute and think tank to keep the trade relations between the UK and the US. I was previously the COO of the Institute of Directors and of a company called Principles for Responsible Investment of the UN. I'm also a full-time mom. I've got 2 kids, literally starting their teenage years. So a lot of fun outside my work. And of course, I'm advising and helping the Tech Women for Boards, being a brand ambassador for a sustainable clothing brand, Deploy, and I'm the vice chair of the IOD Glass Ceiling Women's Group. I'm sure if you've got any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm not going to be too long because I've got many more inspirational leaders around me. So over to the next one.
Thank you very much. Shelley.
Well, thank you so much. What a wonderful opportunity to share insight in leadership. So I'm so honored to be with this distinguished panel of leaders. I'm the CEO and founder of SB Global LLC, and I always like to say my journey has 4 chapters. My first chapter is I enlisted in the U.S. Air Force right out of high school. Like many of your audience members, they may have not had college money or weren't sure what they wanted to do in college. And so joining the Air Force allowed me to get stationed in Turkey and Germany as a personnel specialist, so HR. But I was able to go to school at night and complete my bachelor's and master's degrees. Those allowed me to apply to become an officer in the Air Force, and I became a space procurement or space acquisition officer. And that started my 25-year journey in the space industry, from leading program development to working on Capitol Hill as a legislative liaison. It was an amazing journey throughout the Air Force. And then I retired after 29 years in the Air Force. I went to work as the Chief Operating Officer at Space Foundation, a U.S. nonprofit that does business internationally with capacity building, kindergarten through 12th grade, teacher professional development. And one of the programs I helped found was our Space Entrepreneurship Program. And after 9 fabulous years, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so last year in 2024, I started my own company, SB Global LLC. And that's what I'm doing today, being the bridge from the space industry to the general public. And again, I'm honored to be with you today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Shelley. Professor Emma.
Now I'm going to have to do that mute thing. Thank you very much. I'm an alderman in the City of London Corporation, that is the political seat of one of the 2 top international financial centres of the globe. I am professor in practice at Durham University's Space Research Centre, where I am professor of space economy, technology and innovation. I sit on the space board of Open UK, and I sit as a strategic advisor to SpaceEye, which is a satellite data integration platform. I am on the board of the City of London Police Authority, where we have the contract for the entire country on economic and cyber crime. I am a barrister. I've been working at the bar for over 30 years, and my work is on geopolitical matters. I am on various boards, and as Zana had said, I'm president of City Livery Club. I'm also president of Candlewick Ward Club, and again, I sit on so many other boards and round tables. I facilitate and strengthen economic relations between the United Kingdom and other jurisdictions. I cross between business, law, politics, academia, space, all combined in one, and diplomacy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emma. Dr. Crystal.
Hi there, I am Crystal Johnson. I am the Deputy Center Director for Technology and Research Investments for NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. That is our largest facility with about 10,000 people and lots of facilities, etc. I'm responsible for shaping the missions of the future in astrophysics, earth science, heliophysics, which is the study of the sun, and planetary science, and then putting together a portfolio of technology investments so that I can make sure that we are investing in the right technologies to enable those crazy missions that we're coming up with for the future. And when we talk about the future, NASA has a vision for 2040. And by 2040, we are going to have humans living sustainably on the moon. And we have 53 other countries that have signed on to the Artemis Accord. So we are not going it alone. It is all of us coming together so that we can have humans living sustainably on the moon, so we can test out technologies and capabilities and get ready for the ultimate destination, which is Mars. So I have been asked to come to NASA headquarters on behalf of the NASA administrator and lead our technology work stream, which is really figuring out what does NASA of 2040 even need to look like for us to be ready for that. So I have to look at enterprise data management, cybersecurity, digital capability, so many different aspects of it. And I've been asked to stand up our agency front door. So in order for us to do this, we have to partner more with private industry. The public-private partnership is going to be very, very important. So I'm standing up that front door to make it easier for those on the outside to be able to work with us and connect to the right people and facilities and capabilities within the agency. So it's a very exciting time right now in the space world.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies, for the introduction. All of you, so inspiring. It's a great pleasure to have you. Right, so let's dig deep to the questions. So we have prepared a few questions that we're all going to discuss. Question number one is about AI. So how is AI changing the future of work, and what specifically we as women should be preparing for? And I'm going to put this question to Shelley first and Esther.
Well, I'll jump in and share that I think AI is an amazing opportunity, both in the space industry as well as elsewhere. AI is changing the future of work, and women as well as men in all professions need to be prepared for it. As we look at that reshaping future of work, it's driving automation, it's enhancing decision making, it's creating entirely new industries. So, and the space economy is no exception. We're looking at AI as optimizing satellite operations, deep space exploration, mission planning, and AI-driven manufacturing in space. So it's a really exciting time. For women and men, I'm going to say this means you need to be prepared. Develop AI literacy, and that means leadership. Leadership in the boardroom, leadership in the C-suite, leadership with frontline supervisors, and even self-leadership. So boards need to start putting emerging technology and AI on their agendas and be talking about it, maybe even create a emerging technology committee for their boards. The C-suite needs to be looking at AI, how they can bring it in, what's the return on investment, what are competitors doing. As we look at frontline supervisors, as you roll AI throughout an organization, how are those frontline supervisors engaging with the team members, providing training, reinsuring that jobs may not go away, but they may change? And then it's about self-leadership, preparing ourselves for the future and being lifelong learners. So it's really an exciting time, and AI is no different than any other technological advancement over the centuries. It's just happening very rapidly, and it is causing a lot of disruption, but it could be disruption for good, and there'll be some bad, always is bad with technology, but a lot of it is good, and we're seeing how that's rolling out. And if you're interested in learning more, I have a Forbes Technology Council article out in February of this year talking about the future of work and how it's rolling out not only in the space industry, but all the way into brick and mortar retail stores.
Well, thank you. I'm sure all of us will be very interested in this article, so please feel free to share. Esther, what can you add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at AI from both sides. So as you all know, it's getting weaved into our daily activities, our lives, but also and in our jobs each day. I agree with Shelley. I think AI is impacting businesses everywhere, and the organizations have to rethink the way work is done. Many of the businesses still, what I can see from research, are unsure how to manage this in practice, where to invest first, what it will mean for your work structure and your skill supply. There's a little bit of a doubt at the moment that AI is, the easy explanation is the ability of computers and other machines to work intellectually without human intervention. There's still a little bit of a doubt that it will transform the world in a profound ways, and when and where this impact will be felt will be hard to predict. I mean, definitely one thing is for sure, like Shelley said, is it will disrupt our employment patterns. But there will be also tens of millions of jobs will be eliminated as well as created. And therefore, I think as women, what we have to start thinking about how we can help and have our own businesses think more from a productivity, innovation, and agility point of view. It's not only, about introducing new technology. We should also ask ourselves how these technologies will specifically affect the workforce and what tasks are most likely to benefit from automation or AI or generative AI. And we need to have some new skills and where. And when I went through all the Boston Consulting Group research, we can see that, for example, the International Monetary Fund now already projects that 11% of the jobs currently held by women, which is a higher percentage than those held by men, are at a risk of elimination because of AI and other digital technologies. And there have been also reports of different AI algorithms in talent management software specifically that they generate results slanted against women because of a cumulative bias baked into the data on which the algorithms are trained. So we do need to make sure that we and our companies are prompt and proactive efforts, making that AI is a benefit to us. And I agree that reskilling is really important. I mean, for example, in the financial services as a sector, women mostly represent 50% of this industry's total workforce, but we only hold at the moment 25% of the senior management position. And many of these are insulated from the shocks of the automation. So we need to predominate in the kind of routine and administration jobs that we have, and we need to make them in a way less threatened by automation, but more embrace the use of AI and actually use that specifically. So besides reskilling, I would also say make sure that you upskill yourself, acquiring all the new skills, the data analysis. You embrace lifelong learning because it will be continuously an update requirement of our knowledge and skills. We keep fostering those soft skills because don't forget, we are really good as female professionals on the soft skills, and developing critical thinking, problem solving and collaboration skills are essential in the newly AI-driven workforce. And then, of course, exploring diverse roles. The AI impacts have impacts beyond the technical positions. It could also will impact a lot of project management, risk analysis, data protection. And so we as female professionals need to embrace and use it in our roles as much as possible and bring that forward. I think we can definitely better position ourselves in the future workforce shaped by AI. And I also think that we can be a real active campaigner of it, even more than currently is being done, because we do know, and probably this will come out, but we all know the well-known examples of that. Where women are involved, game-changing solutions are born. We know that women created the windshield wipers. We know that we created the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, the home security systems. A lot of the electrical programmable computer was invented and supported by the female way of thinking. And probably we all know the well-known example I meant was also the 2019, where NASA was forced to delay kind of the high-profile first ever all-female spacewalk due to the lack of space suits designed for women. Now in 2040, I'm sure that we will be having a lot of women living on the moon, as was earlier mentioned. So Dr. Crystal, really looking forward to that. But overall, I think although AI can be a threatening aspect for female professionals, I think we need to try to embrace it as much as possible and be almost the front walkers with it.
Yeah, thank you, Esther. I think you are right. In the end of the day, we are living and have been living for a while in times where everything changes, and that has been escalated. And so rather than being worried about what's happening, we should be more proactive and actually take the tools in our hands and learn so that we are not left behind. And that's an advice that should be taken not just for women, but all generations, really. Thank you. Right. Question number 2. How are female leaders influencing business strategies in their space economy to foster innovation and sustainability? Crystal, and then I'll also ask Shelley as the ladies of the space.
Right. Yeah, I think the most important thing is for women to be in leadership roles. I mean, you have to be in those positions where you actually can set policy, where you can establish the guidelines and the environment in which your people work. So that's not kind of women influencing from the side, it's women influencing from the top. And that we need to continue to make sure that we're doing. So what we have seen at NASA is NASA has been the best place to work for the past 12 years in a row. And that is because we understand, and because we do have quite a few women in leadership roles, but we also have men who are very strong allies for women. And so we have found that if you create an environment that brings the whole person to the table and supports the whole person, then you actually get 150% of them, as opposed to 70, 75, 80, or even 100% of the individuals. And so one of the things that really got me, that captured me at a very young age at NASA, when I first started working there that summer, I was working in a laser lab. And what I found in looking at the environment around me was that they weren't just paying us to focus on being in the lab from 9 to 5 or from 8 to 10 at night or what have you. They paid us to think, and they wanted us to be creative and innovative. So when they said the word innovative, they were saying, we want you to think outside the box. So they created an environment that forced our minds and our heads totally outside the box. So we were in the lab designing lasers. You'd run into a problem, you couldn't get it to work. So we'd all jump in our cars and we'd go to the mall. And people watch for a minute, eat some ice cream or something. Somebody would get an idea and we'd rush back in the cars and go back to the lab. One of our coworkers had a sailboat. So we'd go out on the sailboat with our laptops, notebooks, books piled up, and we'd be working on the sailboat. You get stuck and then you go in for a swim and you come back out. But what we realized is when you take yourself outside of the norm, the creativity really ramps up. So we came up with very innovative new materials, new crystals, new designs, when most other people were not. They were making incremental changes. We at NASA were making revolutionary changes. And that's because we really fostered an environment to think outside of the box. So it really is, sometimes you have those times where women feel like we have to be hard. We have to be, like the men and that type of thing. And that just is not necessary. It is truly important for us to be who we are, understand that we contribute uniquely to every single environment that we're in, honor that uniqueness, and support yourself and all of the other women around you, instead of the crab pulling the other crabs pulling that one crab that's crawling out of the pot back down into the batch. So it really is about a support system and networking.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really like the idea of literally changing the environment.
Yes.
So rather than being stuck in the office,
yes,
let's go and work somewhere else and have a different perspective. I think that's just an amazing idea. I'm going to try to introduce to
Yeah.
my businesses.
Yeah.
Shelley, what are your thoughts?
Well, I love what Dr. Crystal has said, and it is really important about leadership. What I'm going to do is complement what she said by talking about the business side of the space industry. You know, when we think about the space industry, it's a $630 billion global market in 2023. And according to the World Economic Forum, it's going to grow to 1.8 trillion by 2035. So where and how are women leading in that area? They're playing transformative roles in shaping the global space economy, not only within the space sector itself, but also across diverse industries that intersect with space innovation, such as agriculture, healthcare, finance, climate science, and advanced manufacturing. A couple of the projects I'd like to actually highlight and name names is the Carmen Project, which fosters global space collaboration, founded by Hannah Ashford and Ku Wang. And what they're doing is they're bringing together global space leaders, entrepreneurs, and investors. And one of the amazing things they have is their Carmen Fellowship Program, which is open right now, March 2025. You can apply to be a Carmen Fellow if you're 45 and younger, if you've had 10 years of experience, et cetera, et cetera. You can go to the website right now, and the applications are open till 31 March. It's an amazing fellowship opportunity. Another great leader I want to highlight, and Dr. Crystal may know her as well, is Dr. Catherine Nakalibi. She is the NASA Harvest Africa Program Director. She's out of the University of Maryland, and she's leveraging satellite imagery to monitor crops, prevent food shortages, and improve agricultural sustainability across Africa. In 2020, she was awarded the Africa Food Prize for the work that she is doing. And the third amazing woman that's leading in healthcare and biotech, not a space person, but a person who wants to solve real health challenges on Earth, is Dr. Nicole Wagner, the CEO of Lambda Vision. She's using microgravity to develop protein-based retinal implants to restore lost vision from macular degeneration, which is a disease that as we age can rob us of our sight. And she's using the International Space Station to do that 3D printing in partnership with NASA as well as Space Tango. So those are just a real business case examples of how women, as well as many men, are leading in the space industry, and how we need investors and entrepreneurs to look at that space innovation technology that is sitting at NASA's Tech Transfer Office, the Department of Energy, the Air Force Research Lab, and many, many more that are waiting to be commercialized and brought to market so that we can solve more challenges right here on Earth.
Well, thank you very much. It's really impressive list of very interesting ladies, and the projects, you know, is just unbelievable. So thank you very much for sharing with us. I'm
Hey,
sure we're
Yvonne,
gonna.
Yvonne,
Yes,
I'm
go
going to
ahead.
just ask for the people on the line. You can go and just Google women at NASA. There is a website, and there are thousands of those kind of examples that Shelley mentioned that you can see. I mean, just women around the world doing amazing things. So just Google that, women at NASA.
Thank you for sharing with us, and I'm sure there'll
Sure.
be lots of questions coming up to you ladies. Right, so we're going to move on now to question number 3. So this is quite a specific question. How did you overcome the challenges that we as women face? Specifically, how did you manage to succeed and become the leader in your field? And this question I will first ask Professor Emma.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. Crystal, please just make space. I'm coming over to NASA. That is just incredible what NASA is doing. I'm leaving the UK. I'm coming over to you. Anyway, so can I just start straight away? I am so inspired by hearing what you are doing, and I am so inspired by the women on this panel, and even beyond this panel. But there is no question that stepping into leadership as a woman in the space industry and any industry still comes with challenges. We can't beat about the bush and say that it is a bed of roses, because it is not. We are part of an industry that, like most, was and still is historically male-led. And this is not a complaint. It is simply history. But history does not have to define the future. Women who enter any industry are going to face these very real challenges. Being underestimated, walking into rooms where they're the only woman, they have to prove credibility in ways that others don't, being marginalized, overlooked for promotion. These are lived realities. And beyond that, there's another challenge, and it's the one that I really want to focus on. And it's lurking always in the background. It is many women face imposter syndrome. And this is one of the most significant, but it's not external, it's internal. And most capable women that I know, even those at the highest levels, have at some point questioned whether they belong in these rooms. Now, you've asked me how I've overcome these very real challenges, and I can tell you, I have practiced for over 30 years as a barrister before I came into the space sector. When I started at the bar, I was frequently mistaken for the clerk, and they would quickly change their minds as I put on the barrister's wig and gown, and within 5 minutes would be wiping the floor clean with their wig. The truth is, leadership, whether it is in space or not, it's not just about whether you feel like you belong. It's about making it clear that your presence is non-negotiable. The leadership shift is not about breaking in, but about taking position. For me, the turning point was when I stopped thinking in terms of obstacles and started thinking in terms of inevitability. I never approached my career as someone trying to break barriers. I approached it as someone who had something this industry and all industries that I've ever been in needed. When you position yourself as essential, the barriers start to look smaller. It's all too often that I see women asking, how do I prove myself? I say the real question should be, how do I ensure that my presence is an asset that no one can ignore? And that is the shift from participating to leading. That is the difference between fighting to be seen and being positioned as essential. It's not about demanding our place at the table. It's about the conversation being incomplete if you are not at the table. And in fact, I'm seeing what all of these ladies on this panel, I dare say, actually follow precisely that mindset. And I'm not suggesting this is easy. It does require incredible strength and resilience. There will be days when it will be more challenging than others. And throughout the 3 decades of my career, I have had so many moments when my voice has been questioned, sometimes rightly so. But those moments did not define my path. It was how I responded that did. The mistake that I often find women make is thinking that leadership is something granted by others. It isn't. Leadership is assumed, it is structured, it is positioned by you. And once you operate from that mind space, that's when you become inevitable. And from where I'm standing, the future of women in space leadership, it's not going to be shaped and shouldn't be shaped by those who ask for a seat at the table. It is going to be shaped by those who define where the industry must go. Women's leadership in space, it's about fulfilling the very essence of leadership. And I'm going to have to say this, it is about going boldly where no one has gone before. I had to say that.
Thank you very much. I really, really liked what you said, and I feel that you're right. It's a lot of about not being apologetic. It's about understanding your position, practicing our confidence, and also making sure that we understand and know our subject extremely well, so we can deliver what is expected of us. I will definitely re-listen again to what you said, and probably make some special notes about it. So thank you. Esther, what do you think? What can you add in your example? Because you have also been having very interesting career. How did you manage to accomplish your position?
Well, I will just add some of the practical approaches. As you probably heard from my accent, I'm a Dutch woman from origin, and of course still are, but yeah, living in different countries. And like Dr. Emma just mentioned, You know, there are quite a lot of challenges for women like us because we are expected to juggle everything at the same time, and we actually do. We do have full-time professional roles. We have, you know, full-time mom roles. That means keeping the household running, whether it's with kids or carer situation, or pets or any other aspects. But we also need to then be kept up to date with the latest developments, including any networking. And to succeed, I kind of realized already quite early that I admitted to myself that I can't do everything perfect all the time. And a lot of people feel that, oh, you need to be showing that you can do it all. Well, actually, no, you don't. You know, I have been able to keep more balls in the air than I would say any of my male colleagues. I am definitely better in organizing and multitasking, but I also had to accept to myself that having the different aspects of life, they are fine when they're good. They don't always need to be perfect. I've never been afraid of asking for help of family and friends. I also didn't feel guilty if I couldn't attend a business meeting because there was a issue at home, or vice versa. If I couldn't attend every sport match and being the perfectly dressed mom at the school grounds, when I had a work event. And, you know, it's better to almost attend one sport match a month than trying to attend them all halfly and becoming stressed. I have become extremely flexible in finishing my work in the different hours. I also realized quite early in my career already that the kind of work-life balance expectations is just not working for me. You know, I will get the work done in the time that it needs to be done, but I make up my own decision on how I plan this, and I always encourage my team members to do it in that way too. You know, a specific work-life balance didn't really work for me, and it kind of stressed me out. So in that sense, it was more helpful to have it interweave my business life or professional life with my private life. Now, I have always been supported by my husband, and I have to be honest, it felt so much easier if I just quickly did emails when I was commuting, or you know, when I have to be honest, a cricket match of my son in the rain was really boring, and so I was happy to do some work in the clubhouse during the weekend. And in my professional work life, I always made sure I said yes on any new challenges. Even if I didn't have any experience at all, I knew I could learn quickly. I knew I could read in, and therefore I showed them what I was made of. I actively participated in discussions, and if I didn't get to share what I wanted during a meeting or a conversation, I would always send an email afterwards to all the attendees of the meeting with my comments and points. I have to be honest, I had a strong supporting network around me. I made sure that I got strong leaders and team members around, especially, you know, I hired people who were the opposite, because trust me, you don't want to have two Esthers. You want to have people that are actually covering my weaknesses, because that's their strength. So why would I focus all my time on developing my weaknesses while I was much better in continuing working with my strengths? And so during my professional career, I took different opportunities at different times. And I remember when I decided to change the role from a CFO to COO role, and I was asked to have in a fast-moving, involving environment like professional services and the think tanks with all the policymakers, I was asked to actually set up a global research center in India. Never had anything to do with my finance role, and I've never done anything like that. But I said yes. And I made sure I got colleagues and experts around me. I learned from them. I did the research and I traveled there and I just took it on. And, you know, especially the learning on the job and the enthusiasm and the drive, and making sure that you give a lot of people around you also the involvement and the exposure for them to be part of it, keeping them informed via emails. Anybody who I spoke at the coffee machines or after COVID, you know, in Teams, always refer to it. So you can get people really enthusiastic about what you're doing. They become champions for you, and for their commitment, you in exchange give them the involvement and exposure. And I have to say, you know, up till today, I'm really proud to be having so many inspirational women like yourselves around me. I'm still learning and inspired by many change makers. And I think the female leadership, yes, we can't do without male allies, and vice versa, they can't do without us. And I think that's literally what we have to bring out all the time. And I have to say, I enjoy it, I would say. And also keep enjoying what you do. If you don't like it, please do stop and do something else, because it's 80% of my life is my work and I love it. And as long as hopefully my enthusiasm rubs off on the others. And then, yeah, as a team, I have to be honest, I'm so much better as part of a team than an individual. We got it done. So I would recommend, especially now with the space, the AI and sustainability, there's so many new things that we as female professionals can jump in and take the leadership on. And then become change makers like Professor Emma, like Dr. Crystal, and like Shelley, because, that's what we are. We're good in it. So let's continue it.
Yeah. Thank you, Esther. There's a lot of very interesting points that you've touched on. I like the sort of reference to the different environment and being flexible on the working. I like of the fact of not being perfect, but also specifically, I like the fact of engaging in meetings, even if it's after meeting, even if we cannot contribute, let's think about it and let's put a word. I like the fact that you mentioned about delegations and creating the champions, and actually not be scared of saying yes and learning on the job and knowing that it's a progression. And so very, very interesting points. Thank you very much for sharing those insights with us. And yes, I always feel your energy. We know each other for a while, so I definitely can say that you definitely enjoy your work, and it's always a pleasure to be surrounded by you and participate in events and so on. Right, we will move on to the next question, and this will be for Crystal and Shelley. I know you've already provided us with some examples of female-driven initiative and some inspiring ladies. Can you specifically give us more sort of ideas and examples of advanced sustainability practice in the space industry? Is there anything specific that is being worked at the moment and will be in the future that can help the world in the sustainability that is also driven by females?
Do you want me to say?
Yeah,
Okay.
Crystal, yeah.
So I'm going to answer that question, but first I really want to foot stomp what Professor Emma Edem said. What she talked about in terms of imposter syndrome, everybody listening to this, you really need to rewind and listen to that again. That was incredible. And it applies to men and women in terms of imposter syndrome. The reason it's important for you to listen to what she said is because you are the one, when you have imposter syndrome, you teach people how to behave towards you, how to respond towards you. And if you do have imposter syndrome, like I did in the very beginning, when I first started working at NASA, I would walk into the conference room and I would sit along the wall because I'd leave the table for the guys who had been there much longer than I had, and who, and I was the only female in the room, and especially the only African-American or Black woman in the room. I would sit along the wall. But then I find that if I asked a technical question of the men in the room, the person who was answering the question would not look at me. He would look at the other men around the table to answer my question. And so it got to a point, and later, if people ask questions, each of us can share how we addressed our imposter syndrome kind of things. But you must address it, because if you don't, your behavior is subconsciously teaching people how to speak to you, how to respond to you, and how to treat you. So you must conquer that. Okay, so in terms of sustainability, what I see coming in the future for sustainability is really the emergence and the merging of many, many different technologies that we women have been working on. So if you think about agriculture, for instance, today you have digital farming equipment. That farming equipment is really getting us to a place where you can have sustainable practices in growing your food and making sure that you're continuing to get nutrients inside the food, because you go to the grocery store and many of the vegetables and things don't have the same kind of nutrition that they used to have. But that is on the ground level. Then you add and merge on top of that drone capability. So our drones are using AI combined with the digital for the farming equipment. They are flying overhead looking at those farms, and they're being able to see where there's a specific pest infestation going on over here, and we need to give it a specific mitigation just for that part of the crop in order to be able to get sustainable practices. Then you overlay the satellites on top of that, and you've got 3 different levels of information looking at soil salinity, so you know which part of the crop you need to give a rest for a couple of years and turn it over, etc. So combining all of those things, we have many wonderful women developing the algorithms to tie those 3 aspects of farming together so that we can have sustainable food practices going forward. We have so many of those kinds of examples, but it really is a matter of very, very forward-leaning things. As we're thinking about putting humans on the moon by 2040, we have to think about everything differently. High-tech medical devices, that's going to be important because you can't take an MRI machine with you to the moon. So we have to develop these detectors or sensors that go on or about the body, pull the heart out of the chest, spin it around, peel it open, look at the veins and vessels so that you can see if there's blockage. Then we have to get to a place where we have the robots come in and remove that blockage without human intervention. And so many other areas. I could give you a million examples because I get so excited as I think about the future and all of the challenges that we need to overcome in order to make that a reality. But I'll stop there.
Shelley, what from your side, what can you add?
Well, I'm going to compliment what Dr. Crystal said as well, because women leaders are playing pivotal roles in driving sustainability within the space industry. We're looking at space debris mitigation, climate monitoring, resource conservation, looking at reusable industries. Obviously, one of the ones I want to share is also somewhat in the agriculture, but really ties in with the Sustainable Development Goal of food security. I went to Qatar and I met with 3 students, 3 female students that were going to Qatar University studying to be nutritionists. So you're probably thinking, nutritionists, what is that doing with the space industry? But what they wanted to do, being in the Middle East, they wanted to look for a healthy snack that young individuals could have versus candy or other things. And what they saw was that a lot of fruits and vegetables that are harvested, many of them are left because they don't look right, they don't have the right shape, and they're just discarded and they become waste. So what they did is they partnered with NASA using a tried and true form of space technology, freeze-dried technology. And now they created a healthy, delicious snack that's using fruits and vegetables that would have been discarded. So we're reducing food waste. And now they've created a snack. So that is one of the ways that I highlight that space is for everyone. If you're an entrepreneur out there, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, that there are opportunities for you to be part of the space industry. I also want to highlight a couple other important things. Vanessa Wichi. Wichi is the acting associate administrator of NASA. So let's start with a woman who's part of the leadership team at NASA, who, again, NASA is a government agency that is inspiring us to go to the moon and on to Mars and do these great research missions, but also how we're able to then bring that technology back to Earth to solve real Earth problems, just like Dr. Crystal talked about with space technology. I talked about the Carmen Project in the fellowship, but Ku Wang, who also co-founded the Carmen Project, she also is an investor, and we got to think about women need to be investors as well as entrepreneurs, because women help understand how other women the projects they're doing. So she's created a venture capital fund focused on space, deep tech, and sustainability. And another investor I want to highlight is Radhika Yeager. She's a founding partner at StarChain Ventures, and again, a key investor in deep tech, blockchain, and space technologies. So not only do we have the government being the leader, NASA and ESA coming to the table saying we want public-private partnerships, but now, as Zana knows from our relationship with the World Business Angels Investment Forum, Global Women Leaders Committee and other organizations, there are investors, both men and women, coming to the table saying, space is now investable. We want public-private partnerships. We want to invest in these technologies, both for, as Dr. Crystal, you didn't tell us about your fabulous moon landing yesterday, but we are back on the moon and we're there to stay. So it's investable. Many of those technologies yesterday were commercial technologies that went back and landed on the moon. So we're going back to the moon. We're creating a new economy called a cislunar economy. If you're an investor or an entrepreneur, there's opportunities for you there. And Dr. Crystal and Vanessa and the NASA team and ESA are leading the way to create those partnerships. So I'm going to stop there because otherwise I'll dive into how NASA is leading on the future of manufacturing in space with the space stations and the contracts they're letting, because they're looking to deorbit the International Space Station and now commercialize that. So there's just so many opportunities for women and men, both in the US but around the world, to find great space careers as well as be leaders in the space industry.
Thank you very much, Shelley, for sharing that. I have not thought about it that deeply and realized how much opportunities and possibilities are there. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm sure a lot of our participants already think about, the different possible job and investors ideas that they can start generating. Thank you. And this is going to be our last questions before we move on to the questions from the audience. And this will be for Professor Emma. You are participating in a lot of government projects. What future trend do you foresee and do you see in business strategies in order to sort of drive this implementation of changes? How that has changed, and how do you foresee this changing?
That's an exciting question, Yvonne. Thank you. Let me be clear where we're going. The future of space isn't just about technology. It's about who is going to define the rules of engagement. It's about who is going to shape those strategies that are going to govern. And let me tell you something that might make some people uncomfortable. Given what I have seen about the space industry and all that it holds, all that it stands for, just look at NASA, and the leaders who will drive this next era are not going to look like the ones who came before. The mindsets that I have witnessed daily, they're not weighed down by traditions and gender insecurities. What I witness is that they are open, progressive, and futuristic. And for a long time, leadership in space was defined by dominance. Who gets there first? Who controls the technology? Who owns the market? But it's this next phase that is going to be the most exciting. It's not going to be won by the loudest or the most aggressive. There are some extraordinary intellects, and this is what the defining factor is. The intellects in this sector are the ones who really do not care if you are a woman or a man. They care that you have the capacity to grasp the future of humanity. And that's what makes this stand out from many other sectors. I'm not saying that it is there yet, but I can see the direction that it is going. It's this sector, it's not going to be led by those who, or it is going to in fact be led by those who understand continuity, collaboration, complexity, those who have the ability to bridge gaps, build alliances, and embed change so seamlessly, because that is what space is all about. And here is exactly where female leadership comes in. The best leaders, whether they are men or women, are the ones who position themselves at the center of change before the industry even realizes that it's happening. Collaboration, it's not just about working together. It's about understanding what each player needs and creating structures where success is mutual. We're already seeing this shift. Women are leading regulatory negotiations, sustainability initiatives, cross-sector partnerships that are determining how space will be governed and commercialized. And what makes women natural leaders in this sphere is because they understand how to shape it from within. Just look at Crystal, excelling in a sphere that requires cross-sectional collaboration, unity, diplomacy, navigating complex relationships whilst applying those intellectual necessities. This is the kind of leadership that is going to define the next decade. And these leaders who see beyond immediate competition and position themselves as the architect of long-term strategy, that is the direction that space is taking. We often talk about space in technological challenge still, but technology it's just a tool. The real change ahead is navigating that intersection of business, governance, global influence. And that is where the future of leadership is going to be decided. Space, it's embedded in everything from financial markets to security policy, climate monitoring, global connectivity. So leaders of the future in space, they're going to be those who don't just solve the technical problems, but who see the entire system. They see the whole wood, the whole forest, those who understand how space fits into the fabric of geopolitical power, economic stability, and planetary sustainability. So let me be clear. Women are already leading in this sphere. Their impact is undeniable. Women are shaping policy at NASA, ESA, private space firms, UK Space Agency. Look at the engineers and the strategists behind satellites servicing, planetary science, resource utilization. So here's the reality. The future of space leadership is not going to look like the past. It is not going to be decided by those who hold onto old power structures. It's going to be led by those who build the new ones. And I can tell you with certainty, women are already shaping at that table. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Emma. That's definitely very insightful and promising, as we can see that, you know, we are already here. We are the women leaders, and we can definitely support and give a good example to the rest of our female community. I will encourage everyone who is currently listening to our discussion to start putting the questions in the Q&A section. We will now move to that.
Let me ask a question, if it's okay.
Okay, go ahead,
To everyone really who is participating this evening. How many of you as a female leaders have had mentors or coaches that helped you build your careers and maybe also overcome the imposter syndrome, if you ever had one? So that question is to all of you, and whoever wants to start first. Thank you. Crystal.
So I will say that I definitely do have mentors, but I will tell you that no one can help you overcome the imposter syndrome, because that is right here. It is a mental game. You have to understand the value that you bring to the table. Nobody can tell you what you can and can't do. No one can tell you what's possible for you and what's not. No one can convince you that you are enough and that you are worthy but yourself. People can tell you that all day long, but if you don't believe it, you're still going to be walking in imposter syndrome and speaking one thing, but acting something different. So what's really important for you to get to a place where you spend some time with yourself and you understand who you are and the value that you bring to the table, and you own that, and don't let anyone tell you anything other than that. So it's going to be very important for that work to be done right here. No one can fix that for anyone else.
Can I add, Zana? I just can't agree with that enough. It comes from inside here. And I have also had mentors. I didn't start in the space sector. I started in law, and I have had mentors in law, those who believed in me, those who forced me to face who I am from inside. And when I started to recognize that every time I was marginalized, it wasn't me, it was them, quite frankly. And that's when I pushed ahead. So you're so right. And when I became a politician, which is what I am now, alderman is a political seat. When I became a politician, I had to morph from being a lawyer into a politician. And I had a mentor who, in fact, it's been 11 years, he's still with me, but he believed in me. And because he believed in me, he took me by the scruff. And every single time I fell over, and I would say, but surely you saw that coming. He said, Emma, you have to learn. and he made me learn. He made me the tough little cook that I
Tough lessons.
became. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
I have another question, and this is to do with AI and the speed of technology. It's a twofold question. The first part of the question is, should we worry about the impact of AI? And isn't it too late? And where do we start with the preparation and learning? Because there has been a lot of in the news in the sort of recent months, quite negative and comments about where we stand with the AI. It's all very unknown. But what do you ladies think? Who would like to answer that first?
I'm happy to start with that, and then I'm sure that there will be the other ones who will join in and add more valuable aspects. I definitely think, I mean, I wouldn't say the word worry. I think, you know, worry has a negative tone of voice. I will take it from a positive point of view. It is a movement, it is a change that we can't avoid. And therefore, better to take it on and look at it from a positive point of view. It will make changes, it will have an impact. Now, you know, every change, every year, you know, we know that there's so many changes we already went through. Nobody was expecting to have the mobile phones that we have today. Nobody was expecting that our kids would do the homework with GPT. None of us did that. We just did it with a pen and paper. But these days, that's, you know, not an option anymore. And to be honest, I don't think we, you know, worry, but worry in a positive way is saying, okay, it's there. I don't think it's never too late to learn anything. I think there's so much information around it. I think you can ask your colleagues, you can even ask your children, but also online. You can find so much. There are already leaders here on the call tonight that you can approach us. There are so many articles online, and I think it's, like I said, never too late to learn. You know, our lives are long life learning journeys, and take them with both hands and take it, you know. Also, I think AI will, not only in our work life, also in a private life, could make our life so much easier. You know, it could modernize and making the organization so much easier. And, you know, yes, people could make the negative things of having an Alexa in the house. At the same time, it's quite easy. If you don't have your mobile phone at hand, what's the time? What's the weather? What's the temperature? What's this? Somebody does answer back when you say that. And so I think we just need to be practical and also take that into account. Don't be afraid of it. Go it, learn it, find more out of it, and it can help your life in a lot of technology way. And if you don't do it, many others will do it, and will do it faster and pass you. So just jump on the train, go on the journey with all, and, you know, together I think we can embrace it with both hands.
Thank you.
If I can add, if you don't mind me.
Yes, of course.
More we use ChatGPT and other various tools of AI, more data we put in as a females, as a leaders, as a diverse members of community, because that's what the problem used to be, and it still is in some areas, that there is not enough data. Hence, we do have biases in the code and certain other issues when the AI is reading our CVs, for example, or as a single mothers, as for the mortgage applications, etc., it still exists, and more of us from diverse backgrounds and diverse culture industries are using it. Actually, will help with improvements and closing that big gap that it still actually exists.
Thank you, Zana. I have a question. Next question is related to space. So as we're preparing for the 2040 move to Moon, and then thinking about Mars and expanding the technology and opportunities outside the space, how does the space exploration actually help those who live on planet Earth? Is the plan to abandon Earth because simply it's too late and we're trying to escape? Or how this expansion is actually going to improve life here?
Yeah, so no, the plan is not to escape Earth. That has never been the plan. The reason that we do so much exploration is because we want to make sure that this Earth is viable as long as it possibly can. We want to stay here for as long as we possibly can. However, keep in mind that Mars used to be very much like Earth. It used to have an environment, it used to have oceans, water, et cetera, et cetera. Something drastic happened to Mars that we do not understand. We know something happened and turned it from a planet that has an environment and water into this red, dry, barren desert of a planet. And we don't understand that. We do have Mars rovers on the surface that are excavating, taking samples up and things like that we have to, get back and analyze so that we can see what kind of mechanisms were occurring so we understand what happened there. So if we start seeing indication of those kinds of things happening here, it may give us some urgency to make sure that there is some place that if something drastic happens here, there's some place for us to maintain and sustain the human race, all of human race being able to have someplace else for us to survive. So whenever you have a very impossible challenge, like living on another planetary body where the gravity doesn't exist the same way, you have to protect yourself from radiation and all of that. Whenever you have those impossible goals and objectives, you inevitably have to create and invent new things so that you can achieve those goals. Then we take those creations and inventions and we transfer them back right here to the planet Earth so that we can improve the quality of life right here. That's happened so many millions of times already. And we have thousands of examples on our website of tech transfers that have happened as we try to, explore other planets and come back here. So just thinking about the vision for 2040, for instance, when we go to Mars, going from Earth to Mars right now would take us about 9 months. A 9-month journey in a vehicle. How many of you would be comfortable in a vehicle for 9 months? Even if it's a big vehicle, you're confined in there and you're pretty much isolated except for the other people that are on that vehicle with you. One of the challenges is there won't be any sun for 9 months because you're in that vehicle. So your circadian rhythm is going to go crazy up and down because there will be no day and night cycles. So you think about technologies and you think about how it applies to real world. People will have to be in their sleeping quarters and then be able to go into a holodeck of sorts where they can actually be in there feeling like they're basking in the sun, getting the vitamin D that you would typically get and all of the other nutrients that you would get from the sun. How do you do something like that? So we're going to have to partner with people in the gaming community and AI, machine learning, all of that. Working with the gaming community, be able to go beyond AR, VR, and MR, which is mixed reality, to the extended reality in a way where there are no goggles, there's no screen in front of you, but a way for you to feel like you are completely enveloped into this virtual or mixed or extended reality. Now, that being the case, if we invest in something like that this year, and by 2027, let's just say, we've gotten the technology to a place where we transfer it to the television industry. So now when you're watching a soccer game or you're watching a football game, you'll be able to project yourself right down to the side of the field, the sideline, so that you can see people coming off the field, listen to the conversations, project yourself to another part of the field so you can see if his knee actually went down before the ball went over the end zone or not. And so being able to really make revolutionary changes to the television industry just over the next few years, and imagine what it's going to do for us in terms of movie going and movie watching. So when you go to a movie theater and you have all of your surfaces that are digital, except for the floor, and you've got that kind of capability, imagine the experience that you're going to have. That's only one area. And there are tons of areas that we've got to overcome and advance in order for humans to be able to live somewhere else. So there are just so many exciting, innovations and creations that are coming that are going to be very exciting for everybody right here on Earth.
It sounds really, really fascinating. I almost cannot wait. And I'm sure there will be there will be a lot of now our participants trying to apply for jobs in NASA.
Yeah, and I think it was Shelley that mentioned that space is for everyone. I cannot foot stomp what she said even stronger than that, because what she said is so incredibly true. We need every kind of field that you can think of. I mean, everybody. And so when you think about mental health, how do you make sure that humans are viable mentally? How do you, arts and entertainment, we need entertainers and artists and all kinds of things to help us be creative, establishing this new capability. We need chefs. I'm working with this amazing chef who is, a CEO of a wonderful restaurant, the #1 restaurant in the world for 5 years straight with 3 Michelin stars. He says to me, Crystal, we need to figure out how, instead of having this dried food for space, how do we marry science with food and make sure that the nutrition is there, but then make it very visually stimulating and really stimulating to the palate. He wants to work with us to figure out how in the world we do that so that you can have very highly elevated meals, because we're talking about bringing communities to these places, not just 5 astronauts going. We're talking about having a sustainable presence on the moon and then on to Mars. So there's a lot we've got to do, and everything we do on Earth, we got to figure out how to do it there.
Lovely, thank you.
Can I just add that
Yeah,
and this is exactly why space is so essential to life on Earth as well, not just because of the technologies, which is phenomenal that space can bring back down to Earth, but when we look at colonizing space, whether it is in orbital cities or on another planet, and if that becomes generational, if that becomes where we've actually solved the formula and we are going to go up there for generations, we will need the biggest possible genetic variation if we are going to be up there. And in order to have that, we have to have unity and cohesion around the globe. And this is why when I look at space, I see space as a global diplomatic tool. Everyone calm down, because we need everybody's genes up there. And if your genes are not up there, you're going to be the one that's going to be wiped out eventually. Who knows? Who knows what it's going to what's going to happen into the future? So this is when the space has a way of unifying the world.
Lovely, thank you.
I was going to just jump in and kind of share some of the data for the investors out there. Yes, we are looking at the moon and Mars, but that space technology is revolutionizing life on Earth. For NASA, for every dollar that was invested in the Apollo era, it was a $7 return on that investment. And in 2014, for every dollar invested in NASA, it's a $40 return. So that money is being invested and being returned here on Earth. So all of that technology that's out there is being used here on Earth. And as we think about what does an economy off planet look like, what I'm going to do is share with your audience, check out The Cosmos Economy, The Industrialization of Space by Dr. Jack Gregg. He wrote about, in addition to research, there has to be an economic motive to become an interplanetary species. We're not going to just become an interplanetary species for research alone. That's not sustainable. That's not a business model that can work. It's got to also have a business and an investment component. And so I think you might enjoy Dr. Jack's book as well about how does that interplanetary species economy work, as well as how we're bringing space innovation back to Earth.
Lovely, thank you. So we will, we don't have any more questions from the audience, and we will share all the different links in the email once the video recording is ready. But before we all go, I just want to have one last advice from each of you that you could give to your female colleagues, participants, in terms of the female leadership. Short, one sentence, final words, what would you say? I'm going to start with Zana. Sorry, put you on the spot straight away.
Oh, it's okay.
I don't know whether you would ever think first.
So my advice would be to network with a lot of different organizations, because by not only that you're going to learn, but you're also going to kind of almost force yourself to be in the middle, in the center, As we mentioned before, it's quite important to be in the center and to share and to learn and to explore. And every network feels like a community, and you need to find the one that is right for you, where you feel secure, safe, that will help you grow. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Esther.
Yes, no, I loved what Professor Emma just said about the collaboration from the space into the world. I would, to add on Sana's, keep connecting. We're a network today. We connected with each other. We got you all joining us. Keep connecting and sharing information between us and ask each other for help. Don't be afraid to ask. Think together, we can get more knowledge and more, I would say still, female power out there, because that's what we do need. We are, 51% of the global population, but we still do not see that 51% on management level, on board level, and many other leader levels. And I think we need to really continuously working on that.
Lovely, thank you. Professor Emma.
Thank you. I mean, I have to say, believe in yourself, because if you cannot believe in yourself, nobody else is going to. And you will be so surprised that if you were to just get out there and do not underestimate yourself, you'll be surprised by what you can yield. You are more than enough.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Christopher?
I love that, Emma. That was great. So I will say, master your understanding and your relationship with fear. That is absolutely critical for every single person listening. And when I say fear, I'm not talking about imminent danger fear, like you're walking out into the street and going to get hit. I'm talking about that other fear. And it truly is false evidence appearing real. It's that thought that we have in our head that's intended to paralyze us and keep us from moving forward, keep us from going after our dreams and our goals and our objectives. So everybody has that little voice on one shoulder that's telling you, you can't for this reason, or what about this, or what about that? If you just listen to that false evidence appearing real there, you will never proceed and you will never take on your dreams. Instead of listening to that, write down those things that are your fear and say, okay, so what? If that does happen, what's the worst that can happen? And you say, if that happens, this is what I'm going to do. If that happens, this is what I'm going to do, so that you can get it out of your head and onto paper. And then you get a chance to see it's not nearly as bad or as ominous as you thought it was when it was in your head. So make sure you understand the fears that are stopping you. Make sure you understand the motivations that are driving you, and make sure you have a very good relationship with both of them.
Thank you. Shelley.
The sky is not the limit. There are no limits.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. From my perspective, I've always been a planner, so I always had a spreadsheet and a plan. And although I still like my goals and my plans and my direction, I recently realized that actually it's quite good to be agile and flexible, because sometimes when we just focus on the plan, we might miss the opportunities that come from outside the box. So yes, have your directions, have your plan, but if something comes to you, just say yes, because you never know what might happen and where that road would lead you. So I'm going to leave that with everyone. Once again, I want to say thank you very much for all our amazing participants, our amazing panelists. It has been really inspirational webinar, and I have learned so much, and I'm just really in awe of all of you, and I'm sure all our participants have really enjoyed it. As we said, we will share the video and the details as soon as that becomes available. And I just wanted to add that the Finance and FinTech Group, together with the Insurance Group, is organizing a business networking event on Monday, 24th of March at IOD 116 Pall Mall. Everyone is welcome to attend. It starts at 6 o'clock. So I hope I will see you there. And if you do have any questions, if you think of them after that, please feel free to email us or just find us on LinkedIn, and I will forward those questions and we will answer them via email. Once again, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good night, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It has been a pleasure. Thank you, and bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.